Hello Stellar Guitarists and welcome to today's guitar tutorial. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to play First Cut is the Deepest by Cat Stevens. This is a great song. We only need 3 chords, and I'm also going to be teaching you that awesome guitar riff that we hear in the beginning of the song. So make sure your guitar is in standard tuning. We're not going to need a capo for this lesson, so let's jump right in today. So I'm going to start off by teaching you the 3 chords we need in the song. We need a G major chord, we need a C major, and we need the D major chord. So let's jump right into learning the chord sequence used in the verse. It's going to be 2 chord sequences using a combination of those 3 guitar chords that we've just learnt. So you need to make sure that you keep track of which sequence we are playing so that you don't get lost in the song. So the first chord sequence that we are going to be learning is going to start on a G. We're then going to go to the D major. We then have the C major. And we're going to go back to the D. And each of those chords is going to be held for 2 beats. So we can strum down twice. 1, 2, switch. 1, 2, to the C, and to the D. So that is chord sequence number 1. Moving on to chord sequence number 2, it's going to start on the G. We then have the C major chord, to the D, and back to the C. And we can also play 2 down strums on each of those chords. G, to the C, to the D, back to the C. So let's go ahead and put those 2 chord sequences together, starting from the very beginning. Here we go. A 1, 2, ready, go. G, to the D, and the C. And to G, C, D, and C. So now that you have an understanding of the chords and the order that we're going to be playing them in the song, let's jazz up that strumming pattern just a little bit. So the strumming pattern we're going to use is going to sound like this. Down, 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 up. 1 and 2 and a. 1 and 2 and a. So if we just practice that in a loop on the G major, it's going to sound like this. Down, 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 up. 1 and 2 and a. So just practice that a few times on the G major chord before moving on into the next section of today's lesson. So if we want to add a little bit of drive to that strumming pattern, we can add an accented strum on the 2 and the 4. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and a. So let's do a quick demo playing through the 2 chord sequences with that new strumming pattern and adding in that accented strum. So starting on the G, here we go. A 1, 2, 3, go. So you notice there that each chord gets one of the strumming patterns. So each chord is going to get a down, 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 up before you change to the next chord. So one last thing to take note of here is that at the end of each verse and chorus, we are going to have the D chord repeated 4 times. So it's going to sound like this in isolation. 1, 2, And if we put it into the chord sequence, it's going to sound like this from the G major, G, C, and D, 2, 3, 4, before leading into the next section of the song, whether that is going into a verse or going into a chorus. So let's zoom in and learn that beautiful guitar riff, which we can use during the intro as well as during the first verse if you are up to it. So again, we are going to be needing only 3 shapes. The first shape is actually a D chord shape, but we're going to play this up on the 7th and the 8th fret of our guitar. So if we find our 7th fret and then our 8th fret where we're going to place our 3rd finger, and we have this D chord shape. We're only going to be strumming 3 strings, the G, the B, and the high E string. Now this is essentially just a different voicing for the G major chord. So you can hear that the open G chord has a much richer, deeper sound, and this 3-finger G chord is a much higher sounding voicing for the G. So even though it is a D shape, it's actually just a higher version of the G major chord. So the second chord shape that we are going to need for the song, we're going to put our first finger on the high E string in the 5th fret, and then in the 7th fret, we're going to put our 2nd and 3rd fingers on the 2nd and 3rd string. And we are also going to be strumming 3 strings. Now this shape is just a higher voicing for the D chord. And then we're going to slide this shape back into the 3rd and 5th frets. And this is going to give us a higher voicing for the C major chord. So a really cool tip here is to keep your 3rd finger anchored down when you slide between the shapes. So if you look carefully, here's my 3rd finger, and I'm going to show you how it can be anchored down as you slide between the 3 shapes. So we can see how that ring finger is just sliding back and forth between the shapes. So this will help with getting to the chords much quicker instead of lifting up all your fingers and then putting them down again. This is what usually takes time when changing between chords. So if you've got a finger like the 3rd finger, which can act as a guide or a lead finger, this is super, super helpful, and it can avoid those awkward pauses happening between those chord changes. So get comfortable shifting between those 3 chord shapes. And then for the picking of the chord, we're going to be picking the 3rd, 2nd, 1st, and then back to the 2nd string. So it will be 3, 2, 1, 2. 3rd string, 2nd string, 1st string, back to the 2nd string. And we're going to do that on each of the chord shapes. And then back up to the D shape. So that would match up with sequence 1, because we'd be going from a G to the D to the C and back to the D. And then if we were to play sequence number 2, we'd be going from a G to C to the D and back to the C again. So very important to practice shifting between those two different chord sequence patterns and get really comfortable with those shifts. Next up, I'm going to be doing a mini playthrough of the song, so feel free to play this back as many times as you need to. Let's jump into the play along together. Let's take it from the very beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4.
But if you want, I'll try to love again. Baby, I'll try to love again, but I know oh, the first cut is the deepest. Baby, I know the first cut is the deepest. 'Cause when it comes to being lucky, she's cursed. When it comes to loving me, she's worst. But when it comes to being loved, she's first. That's how I know the first cut is the deepest. Baby, I know the first cut is the deepest. I still want you by my side, just to help me dry the tears that I've cried. 'Cause I'm sure gonna give you a try, and if you want, I'll try to love again. Baby, I'll try to love again, but I know oh, the first cut is the deepest. Baby, I know the first cut is the deepest. 'Cause when it comes to being lucky, she's cursed. When it comes to loving me, she's worst. But when it comes to being loved, she's first. That's how I know the first cut is the deepest. Baby, I know the first cut is the deepest.
So that is how you play First Cut is the Deepest by Cat Stevens. I really hope that you enjoyed today's tutorial. This is a very special song for me. It was actually one of the first songs that I performed at a high school concert, so it definitely has very deep memories and deep personal meaning to me. So if you enjoyed today's tutorial, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. It really, really helps me out being able to continue making lessons just like this one for you every single week. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you in next week's lesson. Bye!